Hello, hello. Welcome back to Let's Talk Entertainment News. I hope everyone has had a great week so far. In a moment, we're going to talk about today's news story, which is the word that apparently a Crimson Tide 2 is in the works. Crimson Tide from 1995 is my second favorite submarine movie of all time, right after The Hunt for Red October, of course. Before we get there, just a quick reminder for you. We have one rule around this place, and that is if you choose to join the comment section, be kind. That is all we ask. It is a mean, nasty world out there, and there's no reason why we need to treat each other like shit when we decide to talk about movies together. We do not need to agree on everything. We just can't make it personal. All right, then. Yes. Did not know, but I wanted a sequel to Crimson Tide, but now that they mention it, the prospect of getting one, I kind of do. Crimson Tide 2 is in the works. Denzel Washington's involvement revealed. Jerry Bruckheimer has confirmed that Crimson Tide 2 is in the works. Crimson Tide is a 1995 submarine thriller movie directed by Tony Scott, the late Tony Scott, unfortunately. Produced by Bruckheimer, it stars Denzel Washington as Lieutenant Commander Ronald Ron Hunter and Gene Hackman, the late Gene Hackman, as Captain Franklin Frank Ramsey. Quentin Tarantino did uncredited additional writing on the film. It's my opinion that he probably just added the F word several times to the film. That's what he usually does. Speaking to the Rich Eisen show per Variety, Bruckheimer confirmed that Crimson Tide 2 is currently being developed. We have a really good director and writer talking to the Navy right now about what's going on under the water. Is Denzel Washington involved in Crimson Tide 2? At this time, Washington is not attached to reprise his role, but you have to think they're going to ask him. Bruckheimer said that they are hopeful they'll get him to return. I think they will. I know he's talked about retiring in recent years. He has a few more films that he sort of has on his list to do, and he wants to retire, but I think he'd come back for this. If we give him a good script, I think he'd do it, he commented. Variety's article further notes that according to an unnamed source, Washington's involvement is entirely script dependent, and there's no finished screenplay as of yet. Bruckheimer further teased that while he can't talk about the story of Crimson Tide 2, it's a real good one. You know what the first movie was about. We're not going to read that, and yada, yada, yada. All right. Yeah, so I did just rewatch the film the other day, and I was, pleasantly surprised, as I always am, that it holds up so well. I guess the biggest fear here is to sort of go the route that a lot of films are going recently. Dead Reckoning sort of comes to mind, Mission Impossible with the AI thing, AI submarine, whatever. I hope you don't go any of that route. Nothing about sort of drone submersibles, though they could play a part. Just good old-fashioned underwater game of cat and mouse. I think that would be great. And of course, the bigger story, or the bigger part of the story in Crimson Tide 1 was sort of this conflict of two men at the top of the submarine's food chain with different opinions coming from different generations. And so now, obviously, Denzel Washington, no longer the young man, he will be the old man. He could be the old captain or perhaps an admiral of some sort. But as the old captain, what relationship does he take as compared to the young rookie? Is the young rookie more like the old character, the Gene Hackman character? Or has Denzel Washington himself found himself over time turning into a person who's more like Gene Hackman? Maybe he's become more closed off, more sure of himself, more obsessed sort of with his own knowledge and his own control of the situation. I like to think that he hasn't changed at all, but at the same time, he's dealing with a new generation of people with new technologies and sort of new ideas, and I think it'd be very interesting to see that generational game of cat and mouse sort of come back in a different way than it did in the first film, but I think that's where they have to go. But yeah, what do you think? Crimson Tide 2? I'd be happy with just another submarine movie, not necessarily called Crimson Tide 2, but it could be Crimson Tide 2 for all intentional purposes. But what do you think? Let us know in the comment section below.